If not mental development by adapting these four methods is called Iddhi Pada. Iddhi means miraculous. Pada means path. Path to the highest achievement of our success. I do not know whether you have heard, you might have heard earlier, this is a different area in the Buddha's teaching. It's called four Iddhipada, four kinds of powers for our success. Success in our day-to-day life, in our business, in our worldly life, in your married life, and in your religious way of life. These four powers must be there. Otherwise, you will never succeed, or you never gain what you need. They are known as Chanda, Viriya, Chitta, Vimamsa. These are the Pali words. Chanda means liking, like. Viriya means effort. Chitta means mental energy. Vimamsa means investigation. These four methods must be there in our activities. Otherwise we will never succeed. The Buddha has used this word very carefully for us to apply in our day-to-day life or worldly life or religious way of life. Those who devote their time for meditation, meditation masters very highly emphasize and advise the meditators to cultivate these four powers. Otherwise they cannot gain anything through their meditation. So it is not only for meditation. Now let us take item by item. Chanda. Chanda means we had to create the idea with confidence that I like this. If you have no idea that I like this, I want this, it is very difficult for you to cultivate or gain or succeed. So whenever you are going to do something, you must have that idea, I like this, I want to do this. Without this confidence, just only for the name's sake, or as our traditions, or as our duty, whatever we do, it is very difficult for us to gain or to find out the good result. That is called Chanda. Now you are going to do business. You want to do some sort of business, or started something which you don't like. Your mind doesn't accept, never appeal to your mind, this business. But you had no other choice. You are doing it. But very difficult for you to succeed if you don't like that business. You want to get married. You don't like married life. There are many who don't like it. There are some Buddhist stories also. Because of their parents, they agree to get married, but naturally they don't like. And they have never succeeded in their married life. You had to create this idea in your mind. It is not that purposely you had to create the idea. That idea must be there in your mind. That I like married life. Then your mind is ready to face any troubles or problems and calamities and difficulties and disturbances because of that liking. You like it. If you like for something, you are ready to face the disturbances and obstructions. Therefore here, the first advice given by the Buddha, whatever we are going to do, we have to do that with confidence and with that idea that I like this. Then second item is virya. Virya means effort. There are two ways for us to apply our energy or effort, physically and mentally. We cannot use physical energy if the mind is not ready. The energy comes from the mind. If the mind is weak, the body also weakens. If the mind is not ready, body also becomes very lazy. Body depends on our mind. Now when we create an idea to do something, that idea we convert into thoughts. These thoughts are going on analyzing, investigating, observing whether we can do this or not. After creating these thoughts, we create cetana. Cetana means we spread the mental energy through our physical body. Otherwise, the body cannot become dynamic force. Because of that cetana, that intention that I want to do this, strengthen the physical body to do that. This we can understand. Even a very weak person who had difficulty of walking, when the life is in danger, at that time the mental energy rejuvenate the physical body for that person to run because of that mental energy. Otherwise, when he is normal, he cannot even walk. This is the nature of mental energy. So the effort or energy we have to use by cultivating the idea in our mind, using our thought going through various channels and observing. After that, divert this into Cetana. That means when we talk about karma, the Buddha says, Cetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. How do we create karma? Good karma or bad karma? Not simply by thinking, not simply by creating thoughts, not simply by talking, or not simply by doing something. Cetana create the karma. What is that Cetana? Just now I mentioned. First, we create the idea that we want to do. Then this idea divert, spread, then become thoughts. These thoughts work through the senses and observing and investigating. Finally, decided to do that. I must do that. Then develop the intention and Cetana, and that energy spread all over the body. Then we get the courage and strength to do that. After that it will become karma. See how systematically, very reasonable way, the Buddha has introduced this. Not so easy to create either good karma or bad karma simply by thinking or talking or doing something. Must come from the very beginning, step by step, to complete. So in the same manner, so when we are going to do something, we had to use our mental energy. We had to create a strong determination under any circumstances. We are not going to give up. We are not going to surrender. We don't give up our work just because there will be some disturbances, disappointment, frustrations, interruptions and problems. That determination support us. So our energy, mental energy, we had to divert in this manner. You can apply this in your day-to-day life, can see the good result. Without wasting our mental energy, without wasting our physical body for unnecessary things, we must know how to utilize, divert these energies. We are very weak, physically and mentally. The reason is, we are wasting our mental energy for unnecessary things through our five senses and imagination, six senses. Just like torchlight. If we use this torchlight for unnecessary things, and battery will be weakened very soon. We have to keep this to use when it is necessary. Without our knowledge, without considering, we waste our energy, mental energy. That is why minds are very weak. No energy in the mind. That is why we have fear. If the mind is strong, this unnecessary fear never appears and never remains in the mind. Like small children, they have fear, scared of so many things, because their mental energies are very weak. Fear is always there. But when we strengthen this mental energy, mind becomes very dynamic force and not scared of so many unnecessary, ridiculous things, imaginations. Why we are scared of a spirit, ghost, devils, unknown, unseen, invisible, living being? Because of weakness of that mind. If the minds are strong, we are not scared of any of these invisible living beings. We also must understand, we have intelligence, and those spirit, ghosts, devils are stupid fellows. No intelligence at all. Why should we surrender our intelligence toward those stupid fellows? Because of the weakness of our mind. If you can make up your mind in this way, I am not scared of any of all these people, you are safe. After that, no black magic, no charms, no disturbances. Mind, weakness of the mind, create. So weaken the mind by wasting our mental energy through these 5 channels. Day and night, every minute, every second, we are wasting our mental energy through one of these senses for unnecessary things. So, concentration or meditation this method is for us to harness, to preserve, to protect this mental energy without wasting for unnecessary things. Take for instance, if you concentrate for 15 minutes without allowing these 5 senses to waste your mental energy through these channels, you focus your mind, divert your mind towards one particular object which is free from temptation and free from ugliness. Otherwise, disturb the mind. That must be neutral object. That neutral object cannot waste mental energy. Then we focus. That is the time we accumulate the mental energy. The mind gets the chance to charge the battery because the senses are not wasting energy. Then go on developing, strengthening the mental energy. Then when the mental energy is very strong, we gain courage, knowledge, understanding. We become very brave. After that we can develop further and further because the mind is strong enough. So the effort we have to use to protect this mental energy, not only for meditation, we can do our work efficiently. Now mindfulness is the initial stage, training period. We do our work mindfully. That means when we do something, we don't allow our mind to catch another object. We do this work mindfully. Reading a book, writing a letter, or dialing your telephone numbers. If you do mindfully, you can do your work also efficiently. You can avoid mistake. At the same time, you are training your mind. After training and training and training for a certain period, then the mind becomes obedient, can control easily, never runs away without our knowledge, mental energy. Now mind goes away without our knowledge. We do not know where our mind is. We have to bring it back. Concentration is important to find out where the mind is. Whether it is with me or with another object or in another world. So the full effort we had to use to preserve this mental energy, when these two things join together, I like this, I want to do this, then the effort, energy, support this. When these two things are working, then we have to apply another one. Chitta. Chitta means mind. I think you have heard there are 3 stages in our mind. Chitta, Mana, Vijnana. 3 stages. Same mental energy divided into 3 stages. What is Chitta? When you refer to the Buddha, we can understand this very clearly. Prabhassaramidang bhikkhave chittang tanchako agantukehi upakkilesehi upakkilittham. This is the nature of Chitta, the mental energy. He says, naturally, our Chitta or our mental energy is very pure and very luminous. Naturally. Later, what will happen? When the mental faculties started to develop, then the senses started to develop. These mental faculties and senses bring external objects into the mental energy. If not, previous experience. Assume a child who being born blind, deaf, dumb, cannot use all these channels, completely closed. This child has never seen anything in this world, never heard anything. don't think this child doesn't know anything. Due to previous experience, what this child has seen or heard, already in the subconscious mind. So this subconscious mind projects, then creates own vision and own sound vibration through the influence of subconscious mind. So if the senses are fully open, these senses always bring objects into the mental lens. Some are very fascinating, attractive, colorful, wonderful, create temptation. Some others are very ugly and dirty and wicked and dangerous and horrible. All the five senses are doing this every minute. Disturb the poor mind. Then you can ask, in that case, why not we become blind and deaf? So easy for us to practice Buddhism and develop our mind. I gave the answer just now. It doesn't work in that way. Then we become crazy and inquisitive mind disturb more and more. And previous experience influence the mind. So that is not the solution. So, mind is pure, but later five senses bring all sort of things, external object and disturb. That is how mental pollution takes place. That is called chitta. Like electricity. Electricity exists, but we pollute it by using fans and lamps, air conditions, machines. The mental energy is just like that. If you don't use any gadget to make use of this energy, the mental energy remains as pure energy. That is called bhavanga stage. Bhavanga stage means passive stage. Mind is in passive stage. It is like this. A water stream. The water flows very smoothly without any disturbance. That is the passive stage in our mental current. And we keep a piece of wood like this in between, interrupt. So one of these five senses, when bring an object into the passive stage of this mind, interrupt. Then the disturbances take place from there. So the meditation is important to avoid these interruptions and disturbances and allow the mental current to run smoothly without disturbing. Then no wastage of mental energy. That is chitta. Then the second stage is mana. Also mental energy, but different stage. When this mental energy take object into the mind through the senses and analyze what is this, whether it is good or bad, useful or harmful. At that stage, that mental energy or the chitta is called mana, not chitta, mana. The word manusya, man, derived from this word, mana. One who can use the mental energy through the senses, and one who can analyze, investigate, observe, that person is called Manushya. One who can develop this further and further, that person is called Manushya, derived from that word mana. Because other living beings, animals, have no that facility, cannot develop. Then come to the third stage, Vijnana. Vijnana is very rich mental energy. Why it is very rich? You have heard there are 4 mental faculties. Our sensation, perception or recognition, 2 mental faculties. Then mental tendencies, the habit, the nature, the characteristic of the mind. Third stage. These 3 mental faculties contribute or influence the mind. Beside these 3, 5 senses bring objects individually, influence the mind. Again, imagination or analytical knowledge creates certain ideas in that mind. Then, when all these energies are accumulated into one channel, it will become consciousness, not mind. So many ingredients are there. Consciousness. When you use English language, the word consciousness, we won't get all these ideas. When we are going to die, what will happen? It is not mental energy. It is not chitta. It is not mana, but consciousness, vijnana. Vijnanam matukuchismin okkamati. Hear the Buddha word. When this vijnana, this consciousness, transmitted, departed from here, matukuchismin okkamati, enter into a mother's womb, just like X-ray, flash, just like flashlight, that consciousness. Then the external elements and cosmic energies and many other things combine. That entered consciousness into the mother's womb become the nucleus of the life. It is not that life come later. Scientists and psychologists had this belief for long period that mind is the byproduct of the element. Later, Albert Einstein has said, mind must come first, not the matters. Matters come and join later. But we cannot see, it is invisible. That is what the Buddha says. Vijnanam matukuchismin okkamani. First, that consciousness enters. Later, others come and join together. Then belong. In that departed consciousness, there are 5 ingredients. Avidya, Trishna, Karma, Upadana, Bhava. These 5 ingredients are there. Not mental energy. Mental energy cannot produce a life. There must be avidya. Avidya means ignorance. The nature of that mental attitude, that stage, is blind. No clear vision, no clear understanding. So ignorance is there. Ignorance is mental energy. What is ignorance? In Paticca Samuppada, 12 link, avidya paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnana. The wheel of existence, the Buddha starts from avidya, ignorance. Because of ignorance, we create sankhara. Sankhara means good and bad karma. If there is no ignorance, we never create karma. Then how this ignorance appears? It is not the first cause. This is a very big problem because in other religions there is first cause. Buddhism cannot single out, pinpoint any particular area or object as first cause. There is no cause because they are all interrelated. This depends on the other. The other one depends on this. All are interrelated. No first cause. But started from ignorance. Ignorance is the main point here. Not the first. Main. Ignorance nurture, support, cultivate all the other weaknesses, evil thoughts in the mind. Therefore, ignorance is responsible for it. That ingredient is there. Then the second one is tanha. Craving is there, definitely it is there. No argument. Again divide into three kinds of craving. Craving for survival, or craving for existence, craving for eternal life. One kind of craving. Craving for pleasure, craving for sensual pleasure, very strong. This is a kama loka, mundane world, where living beings experience sensual pleasure. They have devoted their whole life for the sake of pleasure. They think the main purpose of their existence is to experience worldly pleasure. And because of this crazy attitude, the whole world has become a battlefield. Animals, humans, and devas also. Craving for pleasure. Craving for non-existence due to unsatisfied craving. when people could not gain what they wanted, they cannot tolerate. They decide to commit suicide. Craving for non-existence is a craving, unsatisfied craving. Again, due to certain disappointment, frustrations, unhappiness, misunderstanding or ignorance, people think that this is the only life, no more. And after our death, we don't want another life. But simply by thinking like that, we can stop it. That is called craving for non-existence, due to certain frustrations or disappointment. Another one, very poisonous craving. The things that we love, the things that we like so much, without allowing others to use them, we burn them, destroy them. That is under craving for non-existence. There are many people, they cannot tolerate when others use their things, but they enjoy by burning and destroying. See the nature of our craving. These three kinds of craving remain one of the ingredients in that consciousness, avidya, trishna. Then comes the third ingredient, karma. No one can live without creating karma. Whether they have a religion or not, it is immaterial. Whether they believe in karma or not, immaterial. This is natural. Because the mental ingredients are the same, irrespective of their religious label. A wicked man, we regard it as most dangerous and wicked and cruel man. That wicked man also creates some good karma. Some good thoughts appear in his or her mind also. There are very religious or religious-minded. Before their attainment of arahanta, no one can live without making mistake. Only after attainment of arahanthood they become perfect. Perfection takes place after that. Below that level, they are subject to make certain mistakes, but as worldly people, we are subjected to make any kinds of mistake. Although we try to be good, try to be religious, try to be honest, but circumstances change our mind. That is the weakness again in our mind, because the mind is not strong enough to face it. Temptation can change the mind. The irritation can change the mind. Although we are trying to be good, be religious, be patient, that is the real color or real nature of the mind. Through our training and understanding, we try to calm and reduce all this, but suddenly flare up. So karma, only Buddhas and Arahantas cannot create any karma because no craving. Those who have no craving cannot create any karma. Good and bad, both karmas we create because of our craving. Bad karma we create for our enjoyment, for our personal gain or benefit, to enjoy our life. Good karma we create to enjoy our life in the next birth. That's all. Otherwise, good and bad karma both never appear when the mind is free from craving. So karma is there. Avidya, trishna, karma. Fourth one is called upadana, grasping. That means attachment, inclination towards certain objects. We have that. Our attachment. We like certain things and we don't like certain things as our habit. Last one is bhava. Bhava means karma bhava. Karma bhava means before our death, the consciousness must go through the three stages. Kamma, kamma nimitta, gati nimitta, these three. No one can die without karmic thoughts appear in the mind. Why? Without karmic thought, no petrol to run the engine. After our death, karma pull us. If there is no karma, as worldly people, only Buddhas and Arahantas, no more pulling. Because no petrol. Stop. End of their journey. So, one of our karma, either good one or bad one. This is very uncertain situation. Today we cannot say actually what will happen to us after our death. Although we create our own imagination that we can go to heaven and this and that. This is our way of thinking. But in reality, now I cannot say. I try my best to do good, to be good, but since I have not attained the higher stage of sainthood, I cannot say what will happen to me after my death. It depends on the last moment, the karmic thought which appear in the mind. That karmic thought is responsible for my next life. Earlier, there is nobody in this world who can understand. Now, we cannot say, there are some mind readers. They watch your face and say, oh, you are thinking this. Yes, can. There are some people who develop this psychic power. But there is nobody in this world who can say what you are going to think at the next moment. Even the Buddha also cannot say, because that idea not yet appeared. This is the nature of the mind. It's a very nice joke. I think I mentioned in one of my publications. A man who came from India to Sri Lanka, who can read others' mind. He tested many people, correct. What he thinks, he reveals, yes, now you are thinking this. Then a cunning man came with a big stick. All right. You better tell me whether I am going to beat with this or not. If that man says, no, you are not going to beat me, then he beat him. No, if he says, yes, you are going to beat me, he said, no, I am not going to beat you. So he was defeated. That means that man has not created the idea yet whether to beat him or not. Therefore he cannot say. This is the nature of the mind. No one can catch that mind. In the same manner, today we cannot say what sort of karma, whether good one or bad one, appear in our mind before our death. Because the last thought, karmic thought which appeared in that mind act just like a film of a negative to print another picture. The picture is the rebirth. Last thought is the negative. Depend on our karma. Advice is given by the Buddha. Whatever we practice as our habitual karma, as our habits, whether good one or bad one, big one or small one, but we make this as our habit every day, the mind naturally goes to do this, not necessary to think purposely. This kind of karma gets the chance to appear at the last moment because mind is used to it. Then all the others remain behind. If not, at the dying moment, when that person is conscious, if his senses are working, then do something or show him something or recite something for that person to grasp into the mind. Hold on. If that person dies when he is holding that object, then rebirth can take place in a better place. That is why they perform some religious or as rite, what you call last rites, before they are dead. When they are unconscious, it's very difficult because cannot grasp anything into the mind. So after this karmic thought, then the second stage. Second thought appear in the same mind, the nature of this karma, whether it is good one or bad one, whether this person experienced good results or bad results. Second stage, nimitta, sign, indications, indicate the nature of the karma. Then the last one, gati nimitta, the destiny. Where this person goes according to this particular karma. So the belief that people maintain after they are dead, they go on searching a suitable place for their rebirth is not Buddhism. It is a traditional belief, not Buddhism. No gap in between death and conception. Not the birth, conception. There is no gap, no interval. So, before this person dies, he or she knows where he goes. This karma indicates the destiny. There is a nice story. A hunter who has not done any meritorious deeds. Every day he goes out for hunting animals. But one of his sons was a monk. So when this hunter was about to die, First, karmic thought appear, bad karmic thought. Then the indications of that karma appear, fire. Indication is fire. That means not a good sign. When he saw a fire, he remembered the color of his son. Then the idea appeared, oh, my son is a holy man, religious man. This is the color of my son's robe. The happiness, the inspiration, confidence that he gained because of this. So his destiny turned the other way around. And he was born as a human being again. At the last moment, how changes has taken place because of that inspiration. There are people, I heard, before their death, they say, oh, fire, fire, fire. If not, jungle, animals, they shout. Indications of karmic thought. If they are conscious, at that stage, semi-conscious. This is the third. These are the 5 ingredients. Ignorance, craving, karma, attachment, and karma bhava, these 3 indications. In that departed consciousness, these 5 things are there. That is the consciousness that settles down. The karmic energy guide, direct, where to go. Either this way or this way or this way or this way or that way. So karma is guided. Craving, pull. Attachment, push. All are mental energies. It is not God or devil come and push our own mental energy. Now you can understand the nature of the chitta, the mind. Chitta, mana, viññāna. Here we have to use our mental energy with a strong determination, without allowing that mind to create pollution, frustrations or disappointment. Use that mental energy, then we will succeed in our career. Those students who use their full effort for their studies, from the very beginning they must have these 4 qualities. First, they must like the subject that they are studying, whether medicine or law or art or science. If they don't like, they should not start that. From the very beginning, interruption, disturbances take place. After that, useful effort. Then have a strong determination that under any circumstances you are not going to stop this or change the mind. Go ahead. That mental energy, support. Then the last one is called vimamsa. Vimamsa means investigation. We have to investigate by using our knowledge, our understanding, our experience or maturity, and collecting some information. These are the channels that we have to use for investigation. So without investigation, if we continue our work, we won't be able to gain what we really need. But at the beginning, the Buddha did not introduce this because earlier that penetrative mind is very weak, not strong enough. Allow this mind to strengthen and develop and cultivate. After that, use this investigation. Then can understand clearly. Then can find out where are the loopholes, where are the weaknesses, what are the important points. If we cannot understand things clearly, again the Buddha's advice is this. Because he is very liberal-minded teacher, not a dictator. He says, if you cannot understand any subject, you must refer to your textbook or your holy books. Study and see. After reading, still you cannot get a clear picture, idea. Then try to find out the commentaries where this subject is explained, given more details about this subject. Commentaries. He is referring to the teachings of the book. Commentary. After reading these commentaries, also you cannot satisfy or you cannot understand. Then you have to approach a master, a teacher who knows this subject. Go and discuss. Get his opinion and idea. Still you cannot satisfy. You have gone through this important channel. Then he says, this is the time for you to use your attano mati. Don't worry about this word mati. That is Pali mati, you know. Attano mati. Mata means concept. Your own concept. By using your common sense and reasoning. You have read the commentaries, you have discussed with the master. Now it's the time for you to use your common sense. Then you can go ahead. Buddha has given the green light from there. So Vimamsa, investigation, we have to do in that not by using our stubbornness or inquisitive mind or without considering carefully, must be unbiased, reasonable. Then we can understand things properly. We can achieve what we need. We can gain what we need. If it is religious way of life, if it is meditation, if it is business or worldly life, in every corner, these things are very important. This is the topic given to me by these university students. So I do not know what made them to choose this subject. Anything else that you want to know? Yes, question time. I don't know, something is wrong somewhere. Whenever I talk, people never ask questions. Last night, more than 1,000 in Penang. After my talk, announced, nobody to ask even one question. I think something's wrong with me. When another speaker comes and oh, so many questions you have. No, rebirth, conception.
Then when we perform funeral services while the body is still there, we try and contact mentally with the dead person. Is there any value to that?
Yeah. I think I have answered and explained this on many occasions. In simple language, I would like to say, these funeral services and rites and rituals are traditional practices, no religious value at all. During the Buddha's time, they never had funeral services. There were 2 or 3 occasions the Buddha purposely went to attend funeral because he wanted to point out something. It is not to conduct the funeral service. People never go and invite the monks to come and perform funeral service. Such tradition was not there. This is a traditional, method. They started due to fear, I think. They had the idea that this departed person may come and disturb them. Therefore we must do something to console by offering all sort of things, chickens and pigs and flowers and roti and fruit and all sort of things. Even in such a Theravada Buddhist country, Sri Lanka, they don't slaughter animals, but they also offer rice and curry and especially dry fish, the smelly dry fish. They offer, this is for the departed one. That is their belief. But the correct answer from the Buddhist point of view is this. Those who have departed from this world, rebirth have taken place either in this world system or any other world system where there are living beings, according to their own karma. And some are waiting to receive some support, moral support, courage, and merit. Others can satisfy with their life without depending on others because they had enough merits. Some others are very unfortunate because they have committed very bad karma. It is impossible for them to receive the merits until they pay for what they have done. So there are 3 groups. Now, we transfer the merits to a person who was born an animal. It is impossible for that animal to receive the merit. We transfer the merit to someone who was born as a human being. To be born as human being, that person had enough karma. After that, he cannot absorb others' karma into his life. Those who were born as devas also had enough karma to enjoy their life. But we invite the devas to share the merit. It is not transference of merit. It is not that they really need our merit, but they will be happy to know that we remember them. That's all. Then there are some who were born in certain spirit form in this world, not in another world, not underground. So they are waiting. Who these people? They are the ones who have not committed very bad karma to be born as animals or devils or hell or any other suffering state. They are the ones who have never done any good karma to be born as humans or devas or brahmas. They live, they work, they earn, they enjoy, nothing. Nothing to carry with them. Not enough good karma or bad karma. They are the ones who will be born as spirits. They need our merit, our support. Our mental vibration, our sound vibrations, our thoughts, our metta, our kindness, all these forces support. That person's life is just like a motor car landed in a federal highway without petrol, just waiting to receive some petrol. So by transferring merits, what we do, we pour some petrol into that car, then he start engine, he can run. Otherwise, all these chantings and funeral rite and processions and offerings and all these things are traditional practices, no real religious value. Later, we can do some meritorious deeds by offering food or clothing or medicines or anything to the religious people or poor people or anybody who need. And then the merits that you gain, you can transfer to that person. Not by burning and cutting and decorating and celebrating. The departed person won't be benefited for that. That is from the Buddhist point of view. Anything else? Yes. This is a very simple question, don't worry about it. To you it is a very big problem. It's a very simple question. You know, when you read the first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and again Mahasamaya Sutra, there are so many other discourses where the Buddha has used Dasa Sahassi Lokadhatu, Satta Sahassi Lokadhatu, 10,000 world systems, 100,000 world systems where there are some living beings exist. These living beings also die and again rebirth take place. Rebirth take place in certain areas according to their own karma. Now, today we are here in this world, on this earth. There is no guarantee that we will be born again on this earth, maybe somewhere else in another planet, according to our own karma. If we have done a lot of good karmas, we will be another planet with the Deva or Brahmas. So, what will happen when there are more facilities, privileges are there, then the population increase there. If not, they go somewhere else. Today actually, modern medical science is so advanced to protect human life. Few hundred years ago, when there's a fire or flood or volcanic eruptions or epidemics take place, how many thousands die? But today within half an hour they can save their life, modern facilities. Again, childbirth, few hundred years ago, at least 50% either mother or baby dies because the facilities were not available to protect them. Again, the medicines, modern drugs to protect the life. When these facilities are available here, more and more come and settle down here. If not, they go somewhere else, in another planet. The whole world today, it has become a very big problem. Population is increasing. Immigration restrictions also tightening more and more. Because they go on searching suitable job. Or begging also in another country is a very big job to certain people. Population increase. If these facilities are not available here, Then rebirth take place in some other places where the living beings exist. Yeah. 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 It is not decided actually, directed by the karmic force. So, yeah, 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 right. Mm. Yeah, 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 right, right. What is the definitions of unconsciousness from the religious point of view? When the senses are not working with the mind, no feeling, no indications of anything, expressions or hearing or seeing, then we say unconscious. But we do not know what is happening inside. All the mental faculties are working, but cannot express anything, no feeling, nothing. So the karmic energy go through these mental faculties, not through the senses. Now take another example, Brahma world. Brahma world, there are three forms. Fine material world and body without functionings of mental energy and the mind without physical body. Three groups. We cannot understand because our knowledge is very limited to understand it. But all these stages take place through meditation. When people develop their meditation, by realizing the loathsomeness or the ugliness and burdens and responsibilities of physical body, they create frustration, disappointment and reduce attachment. No more attachment toward physical body. Only mind. Then they develop this mind after their death. Rebirth takes place in certain Brahma world. The life and mental energy exist without physical body. But we cannot understand. For that person, no burden, physical burden, free from old age, free from sicknesses, free from ache and pains and death, in that way. Of course, not free from death, physically. Again, some others develop their meditation. They have a strong attachment toward their physical body. Fine material. At the same time, they cultivate their mind. Cultivate means reduce the defilement from the mind. After their death, rebirth takes place in one of the Brahma world, that physical body exists, the mind is not functioning as usual. Mental energy is there, but not functioning through mental faculties. This is more than enough for us to understand. But our knowledge is limited. We cannot understand even how people, living beings, appear as a spontaneous living being. That means without giving birth. No mothers to give birth, but life appears. A spirit, ghost, devil, devas, brahmas. No mother. But there are females. Those females are very fortunate. They never give birth. But in Brahma world, no sex formation. They are free from that problem. completely free, no sex urge, no craving for sex, no sex formation, only in Brahma world. Then don't think what is the use of going there. Enough. Okay, sharing of merit. Right? Imina punya kammena upajjaya guruttara achariyupakaraca mata pita piya mamam Suriyo Chandi Maharaja Gunavanta Narapicha Brahma Maharaja Indacha Lokapalacha Devata Yamo Mitta Manusacha Madhyata Verika Picha Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu Punyani Pakatani Me Sukhanjati Vidang Dentu Ipam Papeta Vomatang Imina punya kammena imina uddisena ca kippahang sulabhe ceva tannupadana cedanang ye santane hina dhamma Yavanibbanatu mamam nassantu sabbadaeva yatta jato bhave bhave ujujitto satipanyo salleko viriyavamina Mara labantu no kasam katunca viriyesu me buddhadi pavaro nato dhammo nato aruttamo nato pacceka sambuddho Sangho natotaro mamam tesottamanubhavena marokasang labantu ma. Oh, are you satisfied? The university group, did you get the answer what you wanted? Okay. not mental development by adapting these four methods. It's called Iddhi Pada. Iddhi means miraculous. Pada means path. Path to the highest achievement of our success. I do not know whether you have heard. You might have heard earlier. This is a different area in the Buddha's teaching. It's called Four Iddhipada. Four kinds of powers for our success. Success in our day-to-day life, in our business, in our worldly life, in your married life, and in your religious way of life. These four powers must be there. Otherwise, you will never succeed, or you never gain what you need. They are known as Chanda, Viriya, Chitta, Vimamsa. These are the Pali words. Chanda means liking, like. Viriya means effort. Chitta means mental energy. Vimamsa means investigation. These four methods must be there in our activities. Otherwise, we will never succeed. The Buddha has used this word very carefully for us to apply in our day-to-day life, or worldly life, or religious way of life. Those who devote their time for meditation, meditation masters very highly emphasize and advise the meditators to cultivate these four powers. Otherwise, they cannot gain anything through their meditation. So it is not only for meditation. Now let us take item by item. Chanda. Chanda means we had to create the idea with confidence that I like this. If you have no idea that I like this, I want this, it is very difficult for you to cultivate or gain or succeed. So whenever you are going to do something, you must have that idea, I like this. I want to do this. Without this confidence, just only for the name's sake, or as our traditions, or as our duty, whatever we do, it is very difficult for us to gain or to find out the good result. That is called Chanda. Now you are going to do business. You want to do some sort of business, or started something which you don't like. Your mind doesn't accept, never appeal to your mind, this business. But you had no other choice. You are doing it. But very difficult for you to succeed if you don't like that business. You want to get married. You don't like married life. There are many who don't like it. There are some Buddhist stories also. Because of their parents, they agree to get married, but naturally they don't like. And they never succeeded in their married life. You had to create this idea in your mind. It is not that purposely you had to create the idea. That idea must be there in your mind. That I like married life. Then your mind is ready to face any troubles or problems and calamities and difficulties and disturbances because of that liking. You like it. If you like for something, you are ready to face the disturbances and obstructions. Therefore here, the first advice given by the Buddha, whatever we are going to do, we have to do that with confidence and with that idea that I like this. Then second item is virya. Virya means effort. There are two ways for us to apply our energy or effort, physically and mentally. We cannot use physical energy if the mind is not ready. The energy comes from the mind. If the mind is weak, the body also weakens. If the mind is not ready, body also becomes very lazy. Body depends on our mind. Now when we create an idea to do something, that idea we convert into thoughts. These thoughts are going on analyzing, investigating, observing whether we can do this or not. After creating these thoughts, we create cetana. Cetana means we spread the mental energy through our physical body. Otherwise, the body cannot become dynamic force. Because of that cetana, that intention that I want to do this, strengthen the physical body to do that. This we can understand. Even a very weak person who had difficulty of walking, when the life is in danger, at that time the mental energy rejuvenate the physical body for that person to run because of that mental energy. Otherwise, when he is normal, he cannot even walk. This is the nature of mental energy. So the effort or energy we have to use by cultivating the idea in our mind, using our thought going through various channels and observing. After that, divert this into Cetana. That means, when we talk about karma, the Buddha says, Cetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. How do we create karma? Good karma or bad karma? Not simply by thinking, not simply by creating thoughts, not simply by talking, or not simply by doing something. Cetana create the karma. What is that Cetana? Just now I mentioned. First, we create the idea that we want to do. Then this idea divert, spread, then become thoughts. These thoughts work through the senses and observing and investigating. Finally, decided to do that. I must do that. Then develop the intention and Cetana, and that energy spread all over the body. Then we get the courage and strength to do that. After that it will become karma. See how systematically, very reasonable way, the Buddha has introduced this. Not so easy to create either good karma or bad karma simply by thinking or talking or doing something. Must come from the very beginning, step by step, to complete. So in the same manner, so when we are going to do something, we had to use our mental energy. We had to create a strong determination under any circumstances. We are not going to give up. We are not going to surrender. We don't give up our work just because there will be some disturbances, disappointment, frustrations, interruptions and problems. That determination support us. So our energy, mental energy, we had to divert in this manner. You can apply this in your day-to-day life, can see the good result. Without wasting our mental energy, without wasting our physical body for unnecessary things, we must know how to utilize, divert these energies. We are very weak, physically and mentally. The reason is, we are wasting our mental energy for unnecessary things through our five senses and imagination, six senses.